Actually, no, yesterday we were sent. I was sent a story from one of the people that work with us here about Zion, but I didn't really spend much time thinking about it because I had other stuff, shows that we were focused on. So this morning I was going to the internet and I came across an article on Fadeaway World. And essentially this article is centered on a report that Ric Bucher of FS1 of Fox Sports put out there, where basically Zion said that he has no interest in developing his game further. Zion has no interest in learning a floater and pull-up jumper, says NBA Insider. When he's on the court, it is clear that Zion is one of the best young talents in the NBA. He could become an MVP level player for the New Orleans Pelicans one day and is an insanely effective interior scorer due to his athletic gifts. Though he is an effective scorer at the rim, many suggested that Zion Williamson needs to diversify his game and add things such as a jump shot and floater to reduce the toll on his body. However, according to NBA Insider Ric Bucher, Zion Williamson is not interested in doing that. Where are the floaters? Up and under layups, his pull-up jumpers at the elbow. Now, from what I've been told, he's shown no interest in developing any of those tricks. Tricks that Blake Griffin learned along the way with a decent three-point shot when the injury started to pile up for him and allowed him to single-handedly drag the Detroit Pistons to a playoff berth. And then it continues on to say, there's no doubt that Zion Williamson becoming a better all-around offensive player could help him on many levels. Aside from potentially helping him with his durability issues, Zion Williamson developing that part of his game will help him once he inevitably gets to the playoffs. So you heard what the article has to say here. So the question is, should Zion Williamson try to add more to his game? Well, let me put it this way. Should an NBA player add more to their repertoire? I think we all can agree that the answer should be yes. Why? Because you're getting better. You're getting better. Now, some people will say, well, there's no need for that because you can master a certain thing. Fantastic. If you look at a player like, for instance, Shaquille O'Neal, who was unstoppable, right? He was unstoppable on the court. But what was the one thing Shaq needed to work on? Was his weight, right? So there's always some type of impediment. So if you have to work on your weight or you're not willing to work on your weight, you better have other things to help you get to the next level. You look at a player like Michael Jordan, came into the NBA extremely talented, athletic, slasher, but as he got towards the midpoint of his NBA career, he developed into one of the most lethal mid-range jump shooters in NBA history. Same thing with Kobe Bryant. As a matter of fact, if you look at Kobe 8, with the exception of 2003, 2004, Kobe, the earlier years of Kobe, although he had a decent jump shot, he was more of a slasher. And then to the point when he got to the second part of his career, he wasn't as aggressive going to the basket because he knew he could preserve his he didn't have to take all that contact by just being able to shoot jump shots because your jumper never goes away. Another player that, their jumper can save them for the rest of their career is Kevin Durant. His jumper is never going to go away. So he's always going to be able to get a basket. But in the case of Zion Williamson, what happens when the injuries start to pile up and your athleticism starts to slip? Then what happens? What happens then? So to hear that he has no interest in adding other things to his game is quite surprising. Number one, and number two, it says to me, okay, so if you're not willing to do that, what are you willing to focus on? Because from my understanding, after following the NBA for God knows how long, I know that in the offseason, players seek to get better at least one thing every offseason. You don't go into the offseason perfecting something or working on something you've already perfected. You go in the offseason, you humble yourself and say, okay, what do I need to work on? And you work on that. Give you guys a perfect example of this. I remember Kobe Bryant, who was probably the most skilled basketball player to ever play basketball. Arguably the most skilled player. Of course, you have Hakeem Olajuwon, you have MJ, but Kobe was just something incredible. But I think when Kobe turned 34 and they had Dwight Howard, Steve Nash, and these guys, and Kobe knew that he needed to run the offense more, Kobe then started to work on his ball handling skills. He was working on them with Phil Handy.